calls mount for a ceasefire.
The Tamil asylum seeker boat mystery. We see it for the first time.
And Super Mario's golden goal. We cross live to Brazil.
And so the Festival of Football is over for another 4 years. The World Cup is headed once more to Germany.
This is SBS World News with Anton Enos and Janice Peterson. And Brett Mason in Brazil.
Good evening. Officials in Gaza say at least 172 Palestinians have been killed since Israeli strikes began 7 days ago. The dead are said to include 17 members of one family.
Israel says it is targeting Hamas militants and what it calls terror sites, including the homes of senior operatives. However, the UN has estimated that 77% of the people killed in Gaza were civilians.
The bombs that are bringing grief to Gaza. Israel says it's launched more than 1,200 airstrikes since its latest offensive against Hamas began. And here is some of the misery those strikes are inflicting. This funeral is for the al-Batsh family. The Israelis were apparently targeting the home of Tassir al-Batsh, Gaza's police chief. He's still alive, but 17 members of his family, including 3 children, are dead.
What happened here was an earthquake. It's a war crime. It didn't used to happen like this. They killed a pregnant woman. They killed an unborn child. What can we say about people like that?
About 8 foreigners have been acting as human shields, taking it in turns to stay at a rehabilitation hospital where high dependency patients can't be evacuated.
It's just relentless. There's just bomb, bomb, bomb. I think it's averaging one about every 3 minutes. There's a bomb. It's a massacre. It is nothing short of a massacre, and it is going on day after day after day.
In northern Gaza, people are on the move, leaving their homes after Israel warned it might expand its operations. The UN says 17,000 people have sought refuge in its facilities, and the numbers are climbing. Israel's military might hasn't deterred Hamas. It continues to fire rockets into Israel. This one landed in the southern city of Ashkelon, seriously wounding a 16-year-old. But Israel has an enormous tactical advantage with its Iron Dome missile defence system that can intercept rockets from Gaza. It's the main reason that not a single Israeli has been killed by a rocket in this latest conflict. The Israeli government's actions are receiving strong domestic support.
Bibi Netanyahu is doing the right move by getting in there, and I hope he will take the foot soldiers and go in there and eradicate Hamas.
I think it's necessary, but I think Israel should define her goals in a better way. It should define what it wants to achieve.
Tonight, the pressure for a ceasefire is growing, but there's still no timetable for an end to the conflict. Lisa Upton, SBS World News.
The Australian Embassy in Tel Aviv has helped 17 people to leave Gaza.
And the government's urging all Australians remaining to depart immediately as international efforts fail to end the conflict.
The impact of Israel's offensive ever widening, from protests in Pakistan to Palestinians in the West Bank town of Ramallah marching, to Vienna, where foreign ministers meeting to discuss Iran found themselves calling for an end to the violence.
There is an urgent need to bring an end to the violence in Gaza and to restore the November 2012 ceasefire.
Islamic Jihad, one of the main groups firing rockets into Israel, has called for Egypt to step in. It was Egypt that mediated the accord that ended the last Israeli-Gaza conflict.
There needs to be an Egyptian voice to stop this enemy and force them to stop the fire against the Palestinian people.
While at the Vatican, Pope Francis, who recently brought the presidents of Palestine and Israel together.
I urge all those who have political responsibilities not to save on prayers and not to save on any effort to stop all hostilities.
Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas appealed to the United Nations for international protection for the Palestinian people in a letter handed to its special coordinator, a speedy response requested. Israel's Prime Minister is unflinching, reiterating his argument for the need to press on.
Our mission is to restore a sustainable quiet, sustainable security to our people by seriously degrading Hamas and other terrorist groups' capabilities in Gaza. I think we're proceeding there. We'll continue until that goal is achieved.
Help crosses into Gaza from Egypt, while Israel's leader underscores that Israel's capability comes from American help.
We've developed this incredible missile defense system, which I think is a historic development in the history of defensive warfare, with U.S. help, and I want to thank the American people, President Obama.
In a Jordanian hospital lie a handful of new patients, injured in Gaza, evacuated to Jordan, but wondering, like millions of Palestinians, what will happen next in their troubled home. Prulawan, SBS World News.
It's thought to be the first photo of the asylum seeker boat at the heart of a pending High Court case. Family members of those aboard the boat have told refugee advocates that this unverified photo was taken before the vessel left port in Pondicherry in India. A relative of one of the asylum seekers has spoken exclusively with SBS. He says he hasn't been able to get in touch with his family members since the boat was intercepted by Australian authorities last month.
Australian Navy ஒரு பாதுகாப்பாக அந்த மக்களுக்கு இருந்திருப்பாங்கன்னு நான் நம்புறேன். என்னால் எங்களுடைய இருந்த நேவிகளை பார்க்கிலும் எங்களுடைய நேவிகளில் நாங்கள் பட்ட துன்பங்களை பார்க்கிலும் ஒரு புதிய ஒரு நேவியை அதாவது ஆஸ்திரேலியன் நேவியை கண்ட உடனே அந்த மக்கள் வந்து மிகவும் சந்தோஷப்பட்டிருப்பாங்க.
Robert, who has been granted asylum seeker status in Europe, doesn't want SBS to identify him because of fear of reprisals for his family back in Sri Lanka. He says his relatives fled Sri Lanka by boat because they were accused of helping the Tamil Tigers during the Civil War. Many of the 153 aboard the boat are Tamil Catholics who fled to India for their safety, according to Robert. He says the legacy of the Civil War continues to haunt Tamils. That statement comes just days after Prime Minister Tony Abbott referred to Sri Lanka as a society at peace. The whereabouts of the asylum seekers has not been released. They're being held on an Australian Navy ship until the High Court decides their fate.
Well, now Germany tonight is celebrating its 4th World Cup title after beating Argentina in Rio de Janeiro.
Oh, what a match it was. Brett Mason was at the match and joins us now from our studios in Rio. Brett, a remarkable tournament has come to a fitting end.
Janice, a fitting end indeed. Germany were the standout team of this tournament. They were even adopted by the locals despite beating them 7-1 in the semi-finals. Such was the determination of Brazil to deny Argentina a World Cup title. So, after 820 qualifying matches between 208 teams over 2.5 years, then 64 matches between 32 nations over 5 weeks, only one team remains standing, and that team is Germany.
Gilmar, the president of Brazil, who has the honour of handing the World Cup to the best team in this World Cup. That best team is Germany.
And with that, 24 years of frustration and disappointment was washed away. Germany, and for the first time a united Germany, is the football champion of the world. Player after player revelling in the glory. It was the showpiece day of the tournament, but it began like many others, tinged with violence as protesters and police clashed across Rio de Janeiro. Demonstrators again calling for better health and education services. Authorities were never going to let this rally overshadow the final. Just a few hundred metres away, oblivious to the anger, but making just as much noise, fans arrived at Maracanã. About 100,000 Argentinians crossed into Brazil for the match, vastly outnumbering the Germans, and clearly believing they had a divine right to the title.
With Messi, score 2 goals, okay, and bring the cup to us.
You're praying for him to bring home the cup.
I pray, yeah.
The Germans refusing to be intimidated.
We play for honour tonight for Germany and for Brazil, and we will beat Argentina 5-0, 5-0.
Inside the stadium, hands clutched faces, teeth chewed nails, as the two best teams slogged it out. Later,
they've won it. That's it, Germany are world champions.
And so the Festival of Football is over for another 4 years. The World Cup is headed once more to Germany. The first time a European team has won here on American soil.
The world's focus is on champion Germany. Argentina forced to endure 4 more years for possible redemption.
And a front moving over Western Australia is producing thundery showers. A trough over Queensland is bringing isolated showers. Similarly, a moist southerly flow will produce coastal showers over New South Wales. Let's check the major centres now. Rain's on the way for Adelaide and Canberra. Lighter falls to hit Brisbane, Perth, Sydney and Melbourne, and it'll be overcast in Hobart. Looking further afield, sunny skies ahead for Auckland and Nandi. A few showers heading for Wellington.
In Southeast Asia, storms in Bangkok and Kuala Lumpur, showers over Jakarta, Phnom Penh and Port Moresby. Fine conditions in Singapore. Further north, cloudy over Seoul, Beijing and Taipei. Storms on the way from Manila, rain in Hanoi and also Shanghai.
Heading west, clear skies over Beirut, Riyadh and Tehran. A few showers heading for Islamabad. Thunder in Delhi, rain in Mumbai. Up to Europe now, scattered cloud over Rome and Istanbul. Showers in Belgrade, Athens and Stockholm. It'll be clear and sunny in Madrid and Moscow.
What's happening in Africa? Drizzle in Lagos, cloudy for Dakar and Nairobi, a bit of rain in Addis Ababa and fine for most of the other major centres as we go across to South America now. Patchy cloud for Panama City, Rio and Asuncion, showers in Caracas, Santiago and Buenos Aires.
And for North America, scattered showers in Havana, heavier falls to hit New York and Washington DC, storms on the way for Miami, Denver and Dallas.